Hey everybody, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. So, a little update on doing some corrections for knives that come in with a big chip like this out of them where it's missing a portion of the handle. A lot of times with these, I will offer to do a handle repair. And you guys have seen before in the past, I like to use resins for that. I used to use mica powder and mix the mica powder, but I found something I like more that's a little bit easier. So here's the mica powder. It's a little bit harder to mix mica powder, but I did find epoxy pigment. And this works really great for just doing, a quick repair like this. And what I like to do is I do it in layers, but I found I can take the epoxy pigment and put just a big old drop in here, and I'm going to pour it right in there and then mix it right in there. Sometimes if the UV resin is too close to the lid, it will actually seal the cap here. I've never had it mess up the whole bottle, but sometimes I have to come up here and just give it a little squeeze and get any part there we go, that little part there that was just dried. The bottle's black, which is great, which keeps it from getting light in it. So you'll see I'll just fill this, a good portion of it. I'm not going all the way to the top just yet. And then what I gotta do, I come in here with my little stick and I start mixing that resin. And like I said, this isn't a perfect, repair. This is a quick repair, but it works really well. It really does. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, and it saves the person's knife. So I'll mix that. And then what's neat is if you get a nice black base going, even if I go on top of this with clear, it still looks black because you'll see that bottom base shows through. Alright, so as you can see, I didn't fill it all the way up. I'm going to do a second pour, but I'm going to do this in layers. So now I'm going to turn on my UV light. Alright, there we go. There's my UV light. And this will take about 7 minutes to fully cure and get hard. And sometimes it can be a little bit longer if you're using dark pigments like you saw here, like that I added to this. And I will, a lot of times, I want to get this as close to that knife as I can. So I'm going to move that right down in there. So I'm going to come back in about 7 or 8 minutes and then add more to it to fill up the top part of that knife. Okay, so that's been drying long enough. I'm going to take it out. And let's take a look here. And you can touch it. It should feel rock hard when it's fully dried. And that looks good. Alright, so now I'm going to fill it some more. And I'm going to, again, use the dye a little bit here. Just so we get a nice kind of black fill in there. I don't need a ton of it. Just a drop will do. Okay, so same thing. I'm gonna spread that around. This time I'm gonna spread it around before I pour in the final pour here, because I want it to be kind of all over, and I want to make sure we get that black color filled in. And like I said, it's going to be clear epoxy on top of this, but it doesn't have to be, this perfect mixture because of the black. It kind of just, you'll see it just it fills in real quite nicely. And the main thing here is just, you want to go a little bit higher than you need to, because we are going to sand and polish this a bit. And we want to make sure we don't have any air bubbles. That if we can avoid that, I'm going to try and just give it a little bit of movement here. But the neater you are with it, the less work you'll have to do if you decide to polish it. If you're real careful, I have had it. Sometimes it'll leak out. Check your tape. Alright, that's looking pretty good. It's looking actually real good. So let's get the light on here so that can start curing. Hardening away now. So we will just let that go. Same thing again. We'll come back in about 14-15 minutes or so. Okay, so this is just a split down, made smaller Cubitron belt, an older one. I, as you guys know, like to save them and use them for lots of different things. And this is one of the things I like to use them for, is if I'm going to clean up and sand down a little bit of resin that if I did a repair to something. I think I'm going to turn this machine sideways so that you can see what I'm doing here instead of straight on. And actually, a lot of times when I'll do stuff like this, I will actually work just like this on the side of the machine where I can see everything really well, so I know that I'm not hitting areas of the handle that I don't want to hit. So now I'm just basically going to sand and shape this resin down. And just a very light touch. Doesn't take a whole lot. And I can start taking off, any excess that's there. If I want to get in, if some got on the bolster, I can get in here. Just kind of rounding that off a little. And don't worry about the, you can see here it's not nice and shiny clear anymore as I'm taking that off. Don't even worry about that. I can restore that with the buffers. Buffers will make resin look like glass. So right now my main purpose here is just to get everything nice and smooth, as close as possible. Like I said, not going to go crazy because this isn't like an expensive repair. It's a very cheap, very affordable repair. But I do like to offer it to customers, if I see that they are missing a big section of their knife, which does happen a lot. It's funny, it seems to always be Henkel's for some reason too. That I do the majority of these on. And I won't go crazy. I'm not going to do a whole lot here. It's just enough. And I got a couple little spots here where it spilled out on the bottom. I'm just taking that out. Alright, so you can kind of see there. I'll show you what this looks like. And that's just resin dust, most of that. Okay? No big deal. So now I'm going to go to my jewelry buffers and then eventually to polishing wheel with a plastic polish. All right. And sometimes I'll even do some by hand if I'm doing a lot of shaping. Now, the first time you do this, don't be surprised. Like, I've been doing this kind of repair for a while. You know, sometimes when I first started, sometimes I got way too much epoxy and had a whole lot of areas to clean off. That's going to happen. You will get the hang of it. It's one of those things, the more you do it, the easier it will become. So what I'll do is I will come in here and usually with the 80 grit, just clean up the bolster and areas that I don't want that epoxy on. Just kind of give it a smooth finish so that it's working in with the old original handle nicely. You can see we got a big old spot right here. I'm just going to get that completely off of that part of the bolster there. And you can see, you know, it's pretty forgiving stuff. So it shows you, I'm holding this 80 grit dental abrasive right on there. And you can see how long it's taken to wear that extra bit of resin off there. So this is very strong. These resins are strong. And that's why these repairs hold up so well. Okay, and now I'm going to polish up the rest of this. And I'm going to go both directions. And I'm also going to hit that rivet a little bit. Going both directions with dental abrasives gives you a very clean, mirrored-like finish on things. You know, so a lot of times on knives, if we're doing the metal, we want to go with that metal pattern that's in there. But if you're doing like acrylics and things like that, it's okay to go both directions. If it does have a little bit of a pattern, so like you can see in this handle, it does have a little bit of a brushed pattern that goes down. When I finish this, I want to make sure that I'm restoring that, you know, that I'm going with that pattern last. So I'm going to, you know, go down when I'm finally done. You can see how that's really starting to blend in there now. All right, so now I'm done with my 80. I'm going to go to my 200, my 400, and then probably do a little buffing. I might hit the 1 micron. Okay, let me show you that. You'll see how it changes, but you can see already, like, that's looking really good. That is a very nice repair for a place that was missing a giant chunk. All right, so here's our 400. And like I said, you can go both directions. Just make sure you finish if there is a particular pattern. Make sure you finish in that direction. On the bolsters, the lines go this way. So I'm going to make sure that metal, for sure, that I'm not putting little scratch marks in it. I want to make sure I'm polishing it in that direction. All right, and that looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to do 1 micron. This is my highest grit polisher I have in the dental abrasives. Take this little piece of tape off. This customer asked me not to mix up 2 sets of knives, so I'm guessing one belongs to somebody else. That's why I got the little tape on there. You can see how this really starts to polish that one micron. Now look how hard it is to even notice. We have a tiny little indentation there, but I mean in general that is really well restored. It's nice and smooth. They can use this. They're not going to have that big hole or gap where that rust was. So now I'm going to hit the polishing wheel. And this is a plastic polish here. Alright, so now let me show you that. And now you'll see, I mean, that's blended in pretty darn good. And you can see by using that, the black, we got, you know, a nice look to it. You know, is it the most perfect handle replacement? No. But I mean, for a quick fix to fill in a missing chunk of a handle, make it look decent, make your customer really happy, make it black so that it matches pretty well. I mean, you gotta, and if you're looking like right here, like you can barely tell that that's not the original handle, you know. And the more you do these, the more skilled you will get at, you know, getting that more and more perfect. But that's my process for doing a quick, easy handle correction for a missing chunk of a handle. Okay, so it's all finished. I just sharpened it, polished it, and there's the final fix. And I feel quite confident that will probably hold up for several more years, just like several of the other knives I've done this way. I'll put links to all the things that I used in here, the different resins I like, the resin pigment, which is the newest thing in my process for doing this, the UV light, just to help you guys find this stuff easily. And thank you for checking this out. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We are very close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. We'd like to hit it before the end of the month.